Phil. I figured I'd give you an update of what's going on in my life. Things are moving, shaking and baking, slowly progressing in my career. If you guys know, I left Greyhound and pursued a career in aviation. I worked for a small commuter company called Boutique for a little bit as a first officer flying the PC-12, transferring passengers on scheduled flights. Now I'm back in California, and I'm flying for West Air, which is a cargo company that works as a feeder operator for FedEx. What's a feeder operator? Basically, we transport packages to smaller airports in the region. For example, Ontario is my base, and I transfer packages to places like Santa Maria, Inyakern, Bishop, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, Imperial. We also have bases in San Diego. We have a base in Oakland and Monterey. They also have a base out of I think it was Sacramento. They've recently been bought by Empire, and Empire is a larger company that runs up and down the West Coast. They also operate ATRs as well as caravans, and soon they'll be operating the 408, which is basically a twin turboprop. It's going to be replacing the 208 here in the next year or so. And so I'm here at the office. I was going to talk a little bit about my day, what happens with me, what's been going on, updates in my life. So right now I'm on standby. Now love being a cargo dog. There's a lot less stress with being a cargo dog. You're not dealing with passengers. You're not loading, bags. You're not worrying about people getting upset because the flight's late and all that stuff. It's pretty laid back. You have a regular schedule that packages get loaded in the morning. You take them to a certain place, and you'll often just kind of sit around. Let's see here. See if you can see it. I'm here. There we go. There's FedEx behind me. It's pretty cool. All right, let me get comfortable here. Talk to you guys a little bit more, because I've gotten a lot of questions about, what's happening and how things go down, how I got where I'm at, and what's next for me. So I'm going to talk a little bit about being a cargo dog at this kind of company. There are several major cargo companies that work with FedEx as well as UPS, and they're pretty fun operations. They're great stepping stones if you're looking at going into a large cargo operation. They're also good stepping stone. They're also good jobs if you are looking for a low-key permanent gig. We have a lot of individuals who are retired guys. We have several individuals who just have families and want to stay close to home, who want to be home pretty much every night. And, it's not the best pay. There are definitely aviation companies that pay a lot more, but considering the standard of living, you have the opportunity to scale up, unlike a lot of companies where you will get in and you just kind of stick at one pay scale because they know you're not going to stay there that long. This company goes up in wages over time. So they often have people who stay here for long periods of time and continue to stay on for long periods of time. And we also have a few individuals who are like me, younger guys who came in to build in that single pilot turboprop time, that PIC turboprop time, stay for a little bit, and end up going to regionals. So we have a couple individuals who are doing that right now. So my typical day is pretty simple. I get up at about 4 in the morning to commute. I got a little bit of a commute because it's not super close to me. And then at around 5:30 I come, I pre-trip the plane. They tell me which run I'm doing. I'm still on reserve, so I don't have a set schedule when it comes to where I fly. They'll tell me which plane I'm taking. I'll go ahead and pre-trip the plane, get that bad boy ready, start all the paperwork. The ramp people will come, they'll load up the airplane. It typically takes an hour or less for them to load up the caravan. I get my clearance. I'll go fly to a location, and typically you get two types of outcomes when you fly to a location. You're either going to fly to that location and immediately come back. You may have another run after that, but typically you don't. Um, or you have some locations where you'll go out early in the morning, and then you'll stay there in that location until the afternoon and load up again and come back. So you're either going to be repositioning after your drop off, or you're going to be waiting to pick up another load in the afternoon and then coming back. And when you do that, they'll typically put you up in a hotel, or you just crash in the lounge, whatever you're in the mood for. And so you will spend a lot of time just kind of sitting around. Like today, the runs that I'm doing, I basically go out to one location, which is Inyakern. I drop off, I come back empty, and then I'm done for the afternoon. And then around 2 to 5, I have to come back, and I'm on standby. And on standby, I pretty much, if they need additional aircraft, if they need a plane moved or something like that, they'll put me on that run, and I will go do it. But the majority of the time, I don't have anything going on. Like, I will literally sit here and just chill. I'll watch movies. I'll, wait for them to call. And if they need something done, they'll let me know. So you'll have some long days, but you're not really doing much. It's pretty relaxing days, which is pretty cool, which is why, it's a great job to have, especially if you live close to the area, if you have family, you're guaranteed to be home pretty much every day. There are very few runs that you're spending the night in another location. And it's just really good for that, Like most companies, you have base pay. And the base pay is in flux right now as they're negotiating the contracts with their new parent company. West Air was its own company. Now it's been bought by Empire, and so there's supposedly negotiations to bump up the pay to match Empire, and possibly negotiating new wages and benefits for this company now that it's owned by Empire. But that's all still in the works. But the cool thing is, just like many companies, your pay is just your base pay. So, as you go over a certain amount of hours every week, you get additional pays. If you're spending, time in other locations, you get additional pay. If you have to drive for work, or, you have some runs where you have to drive out there to pick up an airplane and then fly to your base, you get paid extra for that. So your base pay is basically your base pay. And, I've heard of some individuals making, a significant amount more than their base pay. Sometimes all up to 10, 15,000 over their base pay, just from picking up extra runs, picking up extra hours and things of that nature. For example, my run, I had a day in which I flew from here to Inyakern and back, and I just flew for like 2 hours. I sat here for like an hour or so, and they wanted to give my plane to another pilot so that he can go pick up a plane in Cedar City, Utah, which is like 2 hours and change away, and back. And so I was like, well, I'm just here on standby. I volunteered to do it. I ended up doing it, and I got a lot of extra pay for that particular run. So there are a lot of benefits of that stuff, which is pretty cool. Especially if you want to work, you can get the extra pay and just bumps up your pay. So it's pretty interesting, unlike boutique, where, we had a set schedule, and I would say I was running maybe like 5 or 6 legs on average per day. And I was, at the minimum, I was flying 6. And, I've had plenty of weeks where I was flying like 8 hours a day. Well, here, on average, I'm doing maybe just like, the lowest I've done is probably like 2 hours a day. The max I've done was maybe like 5 hours a day. So, you're not picking up tons more time than you would at a company like Boutique, which is, scheduled 135. It's still a 135 operation. Companies like Boutique are still good, because they'll take you in at low hours, and those low hours will help you build that time to get to those 135 captain minimums. So if that's what you're looking to do, there are companies like Boutique, Southern Airways, Advance, um, what was it, Cape Air, where they'll hire second in command at those lower hours under their training programs to help get you to those 135 minimums so that you can eventually become a captain. Um, so I'm still below 1,500 hours. I'm only at about like 1,300 hours right now. So I'm still trying to get to those ATP minimums. For those who don't know, the ATP minimums are the minimums you need in order to get your air transit pilot license. It's a step up from your commercial license that allows you to fly, for the Part 121 or the larger airlines. Right now, the market is pretty hot for pilots. There are a lot of companies throwing a lot of money at pilots to try to get them to come on board, and even more money to try to get those pilots to stay instead of going to other larger airlines. So it's definitely very competitive right now. Prior to coming to here, I actually had a good number of offers from other companies to come in as a 135 captain just from my time as a second in command flying for a company like Boutique. It's not a far throw from flying a PC-12 to a 208. It's actually easier than flying a PC-12. I had a job offer to fly a Kodiak in Alaska. I had a job offer to fly it was a Twin Comanche or something like that. It was like a 310 or a 410 or something like that. In another location, I had a job offer to fly PC-12. In another location. And I chose this specific location because it afforded me that lifestyle that I wanted. It allowed me to be home more often instead of flying and spending hours commuting to locations. I'm pretty much just an hour drive away from where I live, which is great. I get to go home every afternoon. It's pretty nice to have that lifestyle. I will still try to get into most likely a regional once I get to my ATP minimums. Mainly because I really want to get into those jets. One of my life goals is to get into a regional and fly up and down the West Coast. So I'm most likely looking at SkyWest. After SkyWest, I'm not too sure what I'll do. A company like FedEx is a great place to be, obviously. It's one of the most desired airlines out there to work for. They've got great schedules, they've got great pay, the equipment is great, the company is a good company. They really value their employees. Companies like Southwest are the same. Delta is another one where they're just really coveted positions at very coveted companies that can help you live a really comfortable life. But of course, at those companies, often the standards are pretty high. They want particular hours, they want particular certifications, and it's not impossible. Obviously, it's not. But at this moment, FedEx, is one of those few companies where they're hiring, but they're more hiring, experienced, high-level individuals. We have a lot of we've had plenty of individuals who the company I work with and some of our sister companies have the Purple Pathway, or Purple Runway it's called. And it's basically a feeder program that allows you to fly the 208, go into the ATR, and then eventually make your way into mainline FedEx. And a good number of them don't take that opportunity. They end up actually taking positions flying for regional airlines and not going into FedEx because you have a contract that you have to sign, and you have year minimums that you must do before you can even get to FedEx. And so some people just find it easier to just go to a regional company and then try to get back into FedEx after building that time at another company, which is understandable. If you're a pilot, you really want to get it done as soon as possible. If you want to fly for an airline or a major company, it really is about how fast can you get into those jets. Single turboprop, easy to get into, fun plane to fly, but it's not really helping you to get to the jets. It's getting you into that basic qualification to get your license. You want to get into a big jet, you got to get into a small jet. You really do. You got to put in your time in a small jet, and small jets will get you to the big jets. So that's just a thing about pilots right now, young pilots with a few hours. They're really just trying to get to those big guys. Other than that, I've been working, living life. I still got the Beetle going. She's been running. I don't drive her that often. I spend most of my time riding my motorcycle. What's funny is, for my Greyhound fans, was I had this really cheap safety vest that they give you, and they only give you one, and I'm like, all right, I gotta buy more safety vests. And as I was cleaning out my closet, I found a bunch of safety vests, and I was like, where the hell did I get all these safety vests? And funny enough, I didn't even realize till I started wearing it. It's a Greyhound safety vest. I have a bunch of Greyhound safety vests still sitting in my closet. So that's funny. So I went from driving buses to flying buses in the sky. So a little bit of my past. I'm still wearing it today. And so I'm going to do a couple more videos. I've got a video that I'm going to do on, the ups and downs of being a pilot. I've been getting a lot of questions about getting to the companies and building those times, how I built my time, and any recommendations. I get a lot of emails from people asking questions about how do I build these hours? How do I get to these companies? What did you do? How hard was it for you to get it, the interview, or to do the training? And so I'll do some follow-up videos, and I'll try to impart some of that information on you guys. For now, this was just a check-in video, letting you guys know what's going on with me, where I'm at, how I'm living, what's been happening with me. And I appreciate all the views and all the likes, and I appreciate all the emails I receive asking questions about what's going on. If you check out some of my older videos, I posted a video of me flying the 208 from Ontario to Inyakern. If you're on my Facebook, I post a good number of videos and photos on there. You can find me under Philip Cook Jr. on Facebook. Feel free to shoot me an ad. If you have a question, feel free to shoot me a question. Make sure you guys like my videos so I can, get on the top of the algorithm, or however it works, and try to, keep answering your questions. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. I'll try to answer them. And thanks again for watching. I hope you guys have a good evening. And if you're looking to fly, or if you are flying, you guys be safe out there.